Born again is a phrase often claimed by religion, but the longing underneath it, renewal, growth, a fresh start, well, that's completely human. In this bonus episode, we peel away the supernatural framing to explore how real transformation happens, why it's messy and powerful, and how the new year offers the perfect moment to choose a grounded, secular kind of rebirth. Welcome to another bonus edition of the MTB Podcast, a segment of the weekly episode that I call Afterthoughts. This is my favorite part of these weekly presentations because it gives me a chance to dig a little deeper into something that came up during the main episode. Let's talk about one of the most overused, misunderstood, and honestly mismarketed phrases in all of Christianity: being born again. Oh, we've all heard it. Some of us grew up surrounded by it. And for a lot of people, that's treated like a spiritual membership badge. You say a prayer, cry a little, maybe fall backward into someone's arms, and boom, you're born again. New identity unlocked, achievement badge earned. But what does born again even mean? What is this rebirth that so many Christians talk about like it's a one-time event that permanently changes your operating system? And more importantly, is there something valuable buried inside that phrase that we can reclaim, especially as we head into a new year? Because the truth is, you don't need a supernatural intervention to experience a profound shift in your life. You don't need a divine decree or a theological certificate of authenticity. New beginnings are a human thing, and we do them all the time. So today, let's peel back the layers, religious, cultural, psychological, and take a closer look at what it really means to be born again. And maybe, just maybe, we can turn this loaded religious phrase into something empowering, honest, and deeply human. Just in time for the new year. Let's dive into that in this bonus edition of Afterthoughts. Okay, let's talk about where the phrase born again even comes from. And no, it wasn't about altar calls. The phrase originates in John 3, where Jesus is talking with a Pharisee named Nicodemus. This poor guy is trying to understand what Jesus is saying, and Jesus tells him he must be born again, or born from above, depending on how you translate the Greek word anothen. And Nicodemus, bless his heart, responds the way any practical adult would. He says, basically, Jesus, that's not how bodies work. So even in the text itself, rebirth is obviously symbolic. It wasn't literal. It wasn't about walking to the front of a megachurch auditorium while the worship band played softly behind you. It certainly wasn't about declaring loyalty to a pastor or a political movement. But Christianity has a remarkable way of taking a metaphor and stretching it into a doctrinal trampoline that they can bounce all around on. And over the centuries, being born again transformed from symbolic spiritual renewal into something much more rigid and, let's be honest, much more marketable. In many Christian circles, being born again has become a label, right? Are you born again? Maybe a membership card. You're in or you're out. It's also a purity test, right? Real Christians are all born again. But it's also a political identifier. Born again voters support, well, you get the idea. For some churches, it's an emotional moment where you're expected to feel something dramatic. Fear, shame, relief. And then you repeat this formulaic prayer and boom, you're in God's saved category. But here's the problem with turning spiritual metaphors into membership categories. They stop doing what metaphors are supposed to do. They stop inspiring true transformation, and they start doing what institutions love to do: control people. Instead of it being a journey of becoming, born again becomes a badge of belonging. And once you got it, there's very little incentive to actually change anything about your life. Let's give credit where credit is due. The phrase is sticky for a reason. Human beings love the idea of a fresh start, a clean slate. Hit that reset button. This is why so many of us still make New Year's resolutions, even though our track record suggests we probably shouldn't even bother. It's why we love makeover shows, dramatic diet transformations, stories of redemption. It's why the idea of finding yourself or starting over really resonates so deeply. We crave new beginnings. They help us feel like we're not stuck with who we were yesterday. Religion taps into that very real human desire. It just routes it through a divine middleman. But the need underneath, that's not supernatural. In fact, it's more universal, and it's psychological. The desire to be born again is actually the desire to become the person we wish we were. Here's where this gets interesting. If we peel off the supernatural wrapping paper, the phrase born again, it can be incredibly useful. Because what is rebirth, really, if not change with intention? A secular humanistic version of rebirth might look like a shift in your worldview, or letting go of harmful habits or inherited beliefs. It could be choosing better guiding principles, getting honest about who you are and who you want to become. It could mean living with more integrity, more curiosity, more compassion. That's rebirth. Not the magical, instantaneous kind some churches promise, but the real kind that happens slowly, intentionally, and repeatedly throughout your life. And here's the secret. You don't get just one rebirth. You get as many as you're willing to create. Okay, let's talk neuroscience for a minute. Don't worry, there's no quiz at the end. Science tells us your brain is not fixed. It's not cement, it's clay, to use a metaphor. Neuroplasticity means you can literally rewire how you think, how you respond, how you decide, and how you engage with the world. And every time you learn something new, every time you break a bad habit, every time you catch yourself before reacting the old way, when you do that, you're experiencing a small, measurable rebirth. Nothing supernatural needed. Now here's the part most churches skip. Real transformation is uncomfortable. It's inconvenient. It feels unsafe because it destabilizes the identity you've been living with. And so many people cling to the religious born-again idea because it offers instant clarity. Oh, now you're saved. Everything's different. Just believe. But the truth? Transformation isn't a moment. Transformation is a process. And it's a damn messy one. And yet, it's so worth it. Because when you choose rebirth, not out of fear, not out of wanting some cosmic reward, but out of hope, true human hope, you become someone more grounded, more thoughtful, and more alive. But it's important to understand that you don't need a crisis to be reborn. And a lot of Christian rebirth stories begin with trauma, guilt, addiction, heartbreak, fear of hell, you name it. That's because emotional vulnerability makes people more susceptible to big, sweeping commitments. Now, here's a revolutionary idea. You don't need to hit rock bottom to begin again. You can choose transformation proactively, not reactively. It doesn't have to be dramatic. It can be quiet, intentional, and steady. Which brings us right into the season we're approaching. New Year's Day is basically the secular version of born again. Right? We tally up the old year, forgive ourselves for the things we didn't do, and dream about who we could become. It is a symbolic reset with no angels required. But instead of making resolutions you'll forget by January 12th, what if you treated the new year as something deeper? What if you asked yourself a few questions to begin with? Right? What part of me needs to be reborn this year? Right? Maybe not all of me, but what part of me? Or what old belief or habit needs to be laid to rest? What guiding principles am I choosing to live by? That's a good one. Or who am I becoming on purpose? Now, any of those would be a rebirth worth working toward. So here are a few more questions that you might carry with you. What stories about myself am I still carrying that no longer serve me? Think about it that way. What am I telling myself about myself that I should probably stop doing? Or where in my life do I need to reset? Not a miracle, just a new decision. Or what values do I want my new self to embody more fully this year? Or ask yourself, if I were to be born again in a secular, grounded way, what would that look like? And so any of these questions, ask those of yourself, let them simmer for a bit, because they can spark something new. Here's the heart of it. Being born again doesn't require a prayer, a pastor, or any sort of supernatural stamp of approval. Being born again, experiencing a rebirth, it's a choice. It's a commitment, a worldview shift, a willingness to grow. And that's something you can do today, tomorrow, and every year for the rest of your life. So as we move toward the new year, here's my invitation. Don't look up to the sky for your rebirth. Don't wait for someone else to declare it. Look inward. Choose who you're becoming. And then take the next small step toward that. Because the new life you're seeking, it's already waiting for you. You just need to begin living it. Well, thanks for joining me for this bonus episode of Afterthoughts. If you want to keep up on everything I'm doing, please head over to thecodaproject.com and subscribe to my newsletter. You'll get notifications whenever I publish anything, and I'll also keep you updated on the weekly live streams of Mythologizing the Bible. If you subscribe for free over at the Coda Project, you'll start receiving my publication called The Weekly Compass. This is a brief guide on a single core value. Think of it as a mini lesson plan for personal growth. It's perfect for families, students, and adults because I include discussion questions designed for each age group. As a subscriber, you'll also have access to the Guide to Kitchen Table Activism, which is a detailed resource designed to help you be politically active from your own home. The guide explains why activism is important, the philosophy behind kitchen table activism, and the foundational values it supports, before laying out how to use the tools you have to make your voice heard. It provides tools, tactics, and templates for you to use, and it only takes about 15 minutes a week. If you care about our democracy, our country, and our world, then I encourage you to check it out. While you're at it, make sure you hit the subscribe button so that you'll start receiving my newsletter called The Kitchen Table Activist. Thanks again for listening. Until next time, remember to question everything, keep what's good, and live what matters.